Okay, drumming gloves. I wish I could put these lower, but they are going as far down on this list as possible. What's up, guys? Today we have a tier list. What I've done is put a bunch of different drum gear that we all have to get and purchase and use. And what I'm going to do is just rank all of this gear in order of how important I think it is to spend money on it. So if something's close to the top, you should spend a lot of money. If it's close to the bottom, you shouldn't get it at all. Save your money. Okay, let's get going. What do we have first here? Drumsticks. So we all use drumsticks. It is an essential thing to have, but should you be buying Vic Firth's 5As, or is it okay to buy Nova 5As? What's happened in the drum industry recently is prices have skyrocketed. So sticks are one of the few things that people are really complaining about. They're super expensive. However, I've used Nova 5As and Vic Firth 5As, and there's no substitute for a good pair of sticks from Vic Firth, Meinl Stick and Brush, Veta, ProMark. So I'm going to put drumsticks S tier. Spend your money on those, you will thank yourself. As long as you get the right sticks for you, they should last long. Electronic drums. So you don't need electronic drums unless you live in an apartment and you can't play acoustic drums. Acoustic drums would always be the better choice to use because that's what drumming is, playing metal shells, wooden shells, and making acoustic sounds. But electronic drums really are a great practice tool. I highly recommend everyone gets an electronic drum kit just so that you can practice at times where you can't play acoustic drums. However, electronic drums, super expensive. So if you want to get the best drums, you got to get Roland drums because Roland has like the best technology at the moment. But a Roland kit is going to really cost a hefty fee. So I do recommend getting electronic drums, but I'm going to put this at B tier. You can live without electronic drums. They're nice to have, but you don't need to spend an insane amount of money on them. Moving on to a hi-hat clutch. So a hi-hat clutch is this thing that you attach to your top hi-hat that keeps it locked onto the rod. You as a drummer, if you play gigs, need to have a few of these. So this is going straight to S tier because I have played too many gigs where the provided hi-hat stand doesn't have a great clutch and I need to bring my own to put there. You don't need to spend a lot of money on them, but just make sure you have multiple of them. Keep one in your stick bag, keep one in a backpack. Just always have one on hand whenever you're going out to play a show. In-ear monitors. Same as a hi-hat clutch, you are going to need these if you play gigs with some sort of production going on. You're going to need in-ears if you don't have wedge monitors next to your drum kit. So as a drummer, you need to have in-ears, but do you need to spend a lot of money on in-ears? I don't think so. A good pair of Shure SE215s has never let me down. I've owned multiple over the years. You really, as a drummer, will do well with these. So I'm going to put these at A tier. Okay, moving on to cymbals. There is no substitute for a really high-end set of cymbals around your drums. The sounds of cymbals can't be changed. There's nothing you can do to them. You can't tune them like you can with drums and make them sound better. So if you have cheap cymbals, you're going to have a cheap drum sound. If you can, I highly recommend buying really high-end cymbals, but you can buy them second-hand. So I'm going to put this on A tier just because S tier things I think you should be buying new. A tier, it's alright if you get used. Next piece of gear is a drum pad. This is a really important thing to have, but me personally, I don't do a lot of pad practice. I know I should, so I'm going to put this on B tier, but I'm sure most drummers would put it higher, but that's just me. Snare drum. Okay, so this is the one piece of gear that if you want to really upgrade your kit and you have upgraded your cymbals, the next thing to do would be to get a higher end snare drum and it will completely change the sound of everything. But cheaper snare drums, I think people don't give them enough credit because if you really put a lot of work into tuning them and getting the sounds right, a $200 snare drum will probably sound just as good as a $500 snare drum that's been tuned badly. So I don't think people should be running to buy snare drums like as quick as they do. If you have a snare drum, make it work, and for that reason I'm going to put a snare on B tier. A drum key, let's just put that on S tier. You cannot function as a drummer without a drum key, and again, like a clutch, you need to have lots of these things lying around. Drum bags, drum cases. Alright, so I don't personally move my kit out of my studio much when I play gigs. It's usually a house kit there, so I just bring breakables, which would be cymbals, snare drum if needed, like things that you can just easily lug there. I don't need to take the shells like the tom bass drum, so I don't personally use drum cases very often. If you tour and use your own kit for gigs, that will definitely be S tier, but for me, I'm going to put these on C tier because I don't use them. However, people are going to debate me on this one, but anyway, that's just my like personal like thing. It's probably going to change in the future if I do start using my drum kit more. Brushes. Okay, this is something that people are going to fight me as well. I hate using drum brushes. They make me like cringe. The sound they make on the drums. I know it's like part of drumming. It's part of drumming history. If you play jazz, you have to use them to swoosh and make noises, but I can't handle that sound. So I really try to avoid using these. I actually had a jazz gig a few months ago where I had to play a few songs that the original songs had brush drum parts. So I bought a pair of brushes for that gig, and what ended up happening is because I got the cheapest pair of brushes I could find, knowing I wouldn't use them much, they broke like in the first song. That gig actually ended up being really intense, and it just went on to be really loud and really fun. So I didn't use those brushes for that anyway. So for me, brushes are totally going to be D tier. But if you're a jazz drummer, you're going to need brushes. A thing that does happen with brushes a lot is I think non-musicians or maybe musicians that play other instruments think that to play softer you use brushes. So they'll be like, okay, let's go play a rock gig, but can you just switch to brushes so it's a bit softer? And I don't think that's a good use for them because they don't provide the same impactful tones as like normal sticks. A better alternative would be to use root sticks or any sort of other plastic synthetic things that just feel and sound far better than brushes. Drumstick bag. Okay, this is something everyone should have as well, especially if you are gigging a lot and you're taking your sticks places. But if you're just chilling in your studio making videos, you don't really need a drumstick bag if you don't have that many sticks, but it's good to have. I'm going to just put this somewhere in the middle, B tier. I wouldn't suggest spending a lot of money on a drumstick bag unless you're really passionate about having high quality material to carry around. Cymbal polish. This one's going straight down at the bottom. I'm one of those firm believers that cymbals start to sound better the more you don't clean them or shine them. The thing is, I don't use bright cymbals. So cymbal polish works for bright cymbals, but any other cymbals, with age, they get far better, and I don't want to tamper with that. So the more they just be, the better they sound. That is why I'm going to rank it D tier. Drum gloves. This has to be one of the silliest things that drummers do. I had a pair of gloves when I was a kid, and looking back on videos, I'm a bit embarrassed because it just looks silly. There are drummers like Carter Beauford who uses gloves when playing drums, but he's Carter Beauford. He can do whatever he wants. For most drummers, I'm putting this right at the bottom. I wish I could put it lower. Bass drum pedal. Okay, everyone needs a bass drum pedal, but how much money should you spend on a good bass drum pedal? Or is the bass drum pedal that you've been playing for years good enough? So when it comes to bass drum pedals, you have certain tweaking settings, and the higher end the pedal is, the more control you have over what you can change. In my playing, I just have loose, tight, medium tensions, and I don't really think about too much other than that. So I'm going to rank bass drum pedals as a B. However, if you are really into the idea of having full control, that would be higher on your list. Drum heads. Straight to S tier. Drum heads can completely change how your drums sound. They are like the secret weapon to improving the quality of a drum kit. If you have a $400 drum kit and you put on some high-end drum heads, that thing is going to tune up way easier, and it's going to sound way better than if it has the stock drum heads. The stock drum heads are the ones that come with the kit when you buy it. So if you want to upgrade how your drum kit sounds after buying it, the first thing you need to do is replace the drum heads. Drum throne. This is something else that I don't think people realize until they spend the money on one, is that a good drum throne will completely change your life as a drummer. The higher end drum thrones are just designed for your body better. They just feel more comfortable. They make you less sore when you sit and play for hours, and they just are ergonomic. That's probably the best word. And it's kind of like buying an office chair. If you buy a really good office chair, you are going to thank yourself in years to come, and it is the same with drum thrones. So this is going straight to S tier. Last one on the list, moon gels. I'm gonna just put these somewhere in the middle, B tier, because you don't need moon gels. There are better alternatives. I use snare weight leather straps. What I found with moon gels is that I got lazy and I just left those on my drums, and then over time the weather just messes that up and they stick on the drum heads and it looks ugly. So anything else that I can clip on and it's not a material that will get damaged by weather or melt or anything is just far better to me. Alright, here's our list. This is how I would rank all these items of gear with levels of importance and how much money I would spend. The top's here, the bottom's here, except take away these drum gloves. Don't get those. Thanks guys, I'll see you in the next video.